Hello everyone, welcome back to our session on Mendelian genetics. In the last session, we discussed about the monohybrid cross and the cytological explanation of the monohybrid cross. And today we are going to see the second type of Mendelian cross, which is the dihybrid cross, and the cytological explanation of the dihybrid cross. So a dihybrid cross is nothing but a cross which involves two distinct characters. Yesterday we saw a monohybrid cross where we took only one character, which was flower color, with two alleles, which was red and white. And when a cross is made with or when a cross is made by focusing on two different characters, here two different characters means it is to be noted that it is not two different alleles, it is two different characters. Yesterday we took one character or one trait and character are the same. Yesterday we took one trait with two alleles in the sense one allele was giving, the trait was flower color or the character was flower color, and the alleles were one allele which was giving red flower color and the other allele which was giving white flower color. And in this experiment, which is a dihybrid cross, we are going to consider two different traits or two different characters, in the sense that we will be taking the seed color and seed shape. We will be taking seed color, the two alleles of seed color, which is yellow and green, and two shapes of seed, which is round and wrinkled. That is what you can see in the diagram, which is yellow. This one is yellow round seed, and we can see the yellow round seed here and the green wrinkled seed here. So that is the characters which are going to be, or the traits which are going to be analyzed during the dihybrid cross. So at first Mendel considered the inheritance of only one pair of contrasting traits at a time, which is called as the monohybrid cross, and later he focused his attention on the inheritance of two or even more pairs of contrasting characters at a time. And a cross involving such two characters which are separable in inheritance is called as the dihybrid cross. So in this particular cross, as I said earlier, we are going to cross a pure breeding yellow round seed, or a plant which is having yellow round seed, with a pure breeding variety producing green wrinkled seed. And you can see the genotype which is given here. What Mendel did was he selected a single plant which is having yellow and round seed, and another plant which was having green and wrinkled seed, and he crossed these plants. So he confirmed this, it was pure breeding. After confirming it was pure breeding, he started the experiment by crossing these two pure breeding plants. And on crossing, what he found was that in the F1 generation, as you see here, in the F1 generation, he got a heterozygote, but the phenotype of the F1 generation was round yellow seeds. And this confirmed that, and from this he came to the conclusion that the yellow round seed or the yellow round traits were dominant over green and wrinkled. Okay, so that's why in this particular example you can see that the yellow and round, that is capital R, which stands for round, YY which stands for yellow, and that is taken as the dominant trait, and the other one is taken as the recessive trait. And what you see here is in the heterozygote which is formed after or in the F1 generation, you can see the yellow round seed, and that confirms the dominance of yellow and round seeds. And in this particular experiment, as the monohybrid cross, what Mendel did was he self-fertilized the F1 generation, and to his astonishment he found another ratio apart from the normal monohybrid ratio. When he considered two different characters, the ratio what he obtained was not 3:1 phenotypic ratio, which is monohybrid ratio what we obtained yesterday was 3 red is to 1 white. But apart from that, he got another new ratio which is 9:3:3:1. That is the Mendelian phenotypic ratio for dihybrid cross. So this is the experiment what he did, and now we are going to see the cytological explanation of this particular experiment, and we'll return to this experiment and we'll see the checkerboard later. So before moving on to the details, we'll see the cytological explanation of this, of each step what we saw for the monohybrid cross. The same pattern, we are going to see the cytological explanation for this particular dihybrid cross, for which we'll be seeing how the parents generate the particular offsprings for the F1 and how the F1 produces the offsprings. So that is what we are going to see in the cytological explanation. So we'll see that and come back. So cytological explanation for the dihybrid cross. So in dihybrid cross, I am going to take it as round yellow seeds, which was we are going to consider round yellow seeds which are dominant, which were found to be dominant by Mendel's experiment over wrinkled green seeds. Okay, so these are the parents, and now we are going to see the steps of, for this was the parent 1, and now we are going to see the gametes. And now another thing to be considered is that Mendel assumed that because there were no tools to find whether these particular the two traits, the traits controlling them were present in the same chromosome or different chromosome, because the concept of chromosome itself was unknown for Mendel. So what he considered was that every character was separately controlled, or every character is separate. Okay, for our understanding, we could assume that these particular traits which was considered by Mendel is present in different chromosomes. It is not present in the same chromosomes. They are present, we are assuming that they are present in the different chromosomes. That is, in this particular case, if we are taking a cell, we will be having, as we said yesterday, 2 homologous chromosomes for capital R, and another 2 homologous chromosome for capital Y. That means all the, so for say I am taking it as the round gene is present here and the yellow gene is present in another chromosome at another different position. Okay, so this is an assumption that we make during this particular experiment, that is all the alleles for the traits are present in or the traits or the genes for round and the genes for the color of the pod is present in different chromosome, and each allele, as we said, it is a dihybrid or a it is a diploid organism. Pea plant is also diploid, and hence each gene will be controlled by 2 alleles. As a result, we have this is controlled by the round gene, or the round character or round trait will be controlled by 2 alleles, and another 2 is controlled by, or it is the yellow color is controlled by, or it is being controlled by other 2 alleles. So this is the pattern, or this is our assumption for this particular dihybrid cross. That is to be noted, because if this is not noted, you might consider these 2, that is the yellow and the round, in the same chromosome, and that might get you to a wrong direction of a dihybrid cross. So here we are assuming that all the traits that we consider are present in separate chromosomes. So here we consider 2 traits, and we consider them to be present in 2 different chromosomes, and because a trait is controlled by 2 alleles, we will be having 4 homologous chromosome, or 2 pairs of homologous chromosomes when you consider a dihybrid cross. Yesterday when we considered monohybrid cross, we considered, or we assumed that because we took only one trait or one character, we had only 1 pair of homologous chromosome, or here in dihybrid cross we will be having 2 pairs of homologous chromosome, as seen in the picture. you have two pairs of homologous chromosome. As a result, the particular arrangement of meiosis, etc., might differ, or it will differ, and that will lead to the difference in the gametes which are being produced, and that will be the difference in the cytological explanation, what we are going to see now. So here what happens is, now this particular, so I will be drawing in another direction here. Yeah. So this particular cell, as we assumed, this particular cell, it is now entering into, as every cell before meiosis or gamete formation, it is entering into the cell cycle. It reaches the S phase. In the S phase, if I take this particular cell, this will be having a structure like this. Each homologous chromosome, or each chromosome, has now replicated, and it has two chromatids each. Is this clear? So this will be R, capital R, and this will be having the gene capital Y, or the alleles capital Y, capital Y. So this is the condition after the S phase. And now coming to our meiosis, what happens during meiosis is, I'm drawing the meiotic arrangement here. So as we said, during the metaphase of meiosis, the homologous chromosome, they pair up, and in prophase they will undergo recombination, crossing over, etc. Whatever the events that happens during prophase, they enter the metaphase. They will be aligning in the form of they will align in pairs in the metaphase plate. So the metaphase arrangement and anaphase movement is that what we are going to see now. So they are arranged in pairs like this. This is one pair. This is capital R and a capital R. And I'm going to take the other pair, which is, this is capital Y, capital Y. So this is the metaphase metaphase 1 arrangement of meiosis 1. So what happens here is, as we know, during meiosis 1 or during anaphase 1, it is the homologous chromosomes that are being separated, and that results in reduction division. Here also homologous chromosomes separate. So as you can see here, if I am taking this as the chromosome number, the parent is having 4 chromosome number, so the resultant gamete should have only 2 chromosomes. Such 2 chromosomes should only be present in a gamete. So we'll see how the 2 chromosome or the reduction is happening here. So what happens here is, homologous chromosomes, so here the homologous chromosomes will separate. This 2 will move to a single cell, and this 2 will move to another cell. So I take one cell from this. So I'm taking one of the cell from this. So if this is one of the cells, so the other will be the same as this one. It will have one chromosome this, and it will have another one like this. So this one is with capital R in one, the other one, the other chromatid also capital R. This is with capital Y and capital Y. Okay, so what happens in the next is that, okay, I'll do one thing. I will draw the metaphase arrangement itself so that the diagrams will be less. So I'm just redrawing it. So now this is the metaphase 2 arrangement of this particular cell. So it has entered. So this is first cell, and this will be the second cell. Both will do the same pattern like this. So this is the particular arrangement. Here you have capital R in one chromatid, and the other one is also capital R. This is capital Y in one chromatid and capital Y in the other chromatid. So what happens here? The sister chromatids get separated and they move to the poles. As a result, you get 2 cells. You get 2 cells. Actually, you get 4 cells because I took only one of the cell here. I'm drawing only 2. So here you have 2 cells. Because the chromatids are separated into 2 cells, it will be like this. Okay. In such a manner, you will get the same pattern. You will get 4 cells. and this will be, one will be, the red will be capital R, the blue will be capital Y, the same thing. So the other four cells will also be the same, because we took this particular parent, this is that particular parent which was with 4 chromosome. Now it is reduced to 2. 4 cells will be there. I have drawn only 2 cells because I took only 1 cell. This second cell also will do the same thing. It will produce the same type of gametes. So the same type of gamete will be produced. So a special thing to be noted here is that here you have in a single gamete the 2 chromosomes. Okay, the chromosome number is reduced from 4 to 2, and here in each of the, because in the case of humans, if you take a similarity or an analogous to human meiosis, what happens is we have 46 number, which is our diploid number, and during after meiosis, what happens is 23 pair will move to 1, or the 23 pairs are separated after meiosis. To what happens is each of the sperm or each of the egg, it gets only 23 chromosome, which is half. The same thing happens here. So a single sperm or a single egg in the case of human, it contains 23 chromosome. So that is to be taken here. Here the cell was having 4 chromosome, and at the end of meiosis it is having 2 chromosome, half the number. So a single gamete will be containing half the number of chromosome. Is that clear? So that is to be a very important takeaway point here. Here, when we consider 2 characters, every gamete should have that 2 characters. If a character is lost, that will lead to a mutation or something like that, or a particular disorder, if a chromosome or a character is lost. So in normal cases, all the haploid set of chromosomes should be present in the gamete, in a single gamete. That means in the single round, how many chromosome was present in the parent, half the number should be present in a single gamete. Okay, so this is the pattern. So this is how you get so here in this case, you have all the type of chromosomes are the same. All the type of gametes, not the chromosome, all the type of gametes that you get by meiosis in this case is the same. That is a single gamete with capital R and capital Y. The 4 are the same. As a result, we will be taking only 1. The same will be the case with small r and small y. You can replace this with small r and small y. You will be getting the same 4 different gametes with small r and small y. The same pattern. You can replace this capital R with small r and small y. So the same thing happens. You get the same type. So we are moving again. So we took we started with capital R, capital Y cross, small r, small y, and what we obtained was from this. So this was parent 1 and this was gamete 1. In this you get a single type of gamete with capital R, capital Y. Here also you get a single type of gamete with small r and small y, and when they are crossed you get capital R, capital Y, small y, and this will show the dominant feature, which is round yellow. So this is round yellow, and this is how the gametes, are produced in this particular case. So this is the first step, and this one is what is called as the F1 generation. Hopes this first step in the cytological explanation is clear. So here the main difference from yesterday's cytological explanation, the first step was, yesterday we had only 1 pair of homologous chromosome, but here today we are having 2 pairs of homologous chromosomes. Is this clear? And now we are moving on to the next one. That is the second type of or the second step in the dihybrid cross, which is F1 cross F1, which is this. We are going to see how this particular individuals produce the gametes, which is the next cytological explanation. Hope the first step is clear. Moving on to the second step, the F1, we are going to see F1 cross F1, which is capital R, capital Y, small y cross capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. So this is what we are going to see now, how this one produces gamete 2. So this can be considered as parents 2 and how they are going to produce gamete 2. So the same thing, we are going to take the meiosis, the same steps, etc. So I just need some space for writing because it will be more, so I'm just cleaning this and we will start with the one of the parents. So just remember, we are going to discuss this one and how this will be producing the gametes. Okay, so what we are going to say is we are going to take, we will consider, because both the parents, we are going to self-fertilize, both the parents are the same and they will be producing same type of gametes, only the cross will be different. So we are going to see how many gametes or how many types of gametes are being going to be produced by this particular plant, which is a heterozygote, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. So if I take SL with this particular one, you will have, this one will be capital R and small r, capital Y and small y. So I write it as, this one is having capital R, this is small r, capital Y and small y. Is this clear? So you have 4 chromosomes here as the same, and now we are going to see the process of gametogenesis. So here the same process, S phase. In S phase, after S phase, you will have a cell with 4 chromosomes like this, with 8 chromatids. Each is having 2 chromatids now, with 8 chromatids here. So the actual shape is like this because of I can't draw much like this. So please consider this will be the shape of these. Of this you have the 2 chromatids which are present here, on each will have the same gene. So this 2 will be capital R, and this will be small r and small r. This one will be capital Y, and this one will be small y and small y. So this is the condition after the S phase. Hope this is clear. And next step, what we are going to see is, okay, in the next step, this will be undergoing meiosis 1, in meiosis 1, metaphase 1 and anaphase 1. Okay, so I take it here. So these homologous pairs, they will arrange like this. Sorry. Oh. Yeah, we'll take it once more. This is capital R, sorry. Capital R, small r, and capital Y, small y. Okay, and now this is going to undergo S phase. After S phase, what you're having is, you will have a condition like this after S phase, where these two chromatids are capital R, and these 2 chromatids are small r. These 2 are capital Y, and these 2 are small y. Okay, so this is the condition, and this will be something which is called as the metaphase arrangement. The homologous chromosomes are arranged like this, and now we are going to see how they will be, or how this will behave during the anaphase. So what are the possibilities in anaphase arrangement? So one thing is clear, that in anaphase we can assume that as normal the homologous chromosomes are dividing. As a result, you get 2 cells for sure, and one cell will have the other one cell One possibility I'm drawing here is one cell will be having capital these two are moving on to one cell and these to another cell. As a result, one cell is now having capital R and a capital Y. The other cell is now having capital small r and small y. So this is one type of arrangement, and you can also have another type of arrangement. You cannot insist the chromosomes to arrange in this particular manner. Okay, we cannot insist only the capital letters or the dominant letters should be present in the same site. You can also have, or there is a possibility or probability of another type of metaphase arrangement. Okay, that is what is to be noted here. So this is the normal one, what we normally consider. These two moving on to the same side, the other two moving on to the same side. They can also have another type of metaphase arrangement that we'll see now. The other pattern of, so this is one pattern where the capital letters are on one side and the small letters are on the other side. This is also having an OR possibility of metaphase arrangement, and that will be like this. Okay, this was capital R and capital R. So I take the same here. This will be capital R's, two capital R's, and this is two small r's, two chromatids. So this can have an alternate arrangement. The small y can arrange a line in this particular way, and the capital Y in this side. That is also possible. Nobody can insist the chromosome to be all the capital Y's to be on one side and all the capital Y are on the other side. Okay, the same thing. And if you take the R in the other direction also, it will be the same. If you take R in the other direction also, you can get the same type of arrangement here. So what is to be noted here is that here in this particular case, you will have another type of arrangement where you can have an alternate arrangement of chromosomes. Because of this alternate arrangement, okay, this will be the anaphase, and what you get is you get two more type of gametes here, or two more probabilities of gametes here. This will be this particular one, which is with capital R and small y. This will be small r and small y. This is an, if you take if you change this capital R and small r into the other direction also, we will get the same pattern. Is that clear? So this is another another possibility. That's why we took two possibilities as OR. You have two types of metaphase arrangement if you consider two traits or two characters. If we are considering two traits or two characters, and and this can happen only in the heterozygote. In homozygote, we didn't find such a type of or such a type of an alternate arrangement, because all the alleles were the same type. But when you have a heterozygote, when the alleles are different, you can have one more possibility of metaphase arrangement, because nobody can insist the chromosome to be present in this particular plane. So these are the two possibilities, the maximum possibilities. The two maximum possibilities of metaphase arrangement is this. Is that clear? So this is the type of metaphase one arrangement, or the possibilities of metaphase arrangement, and the four possibilities or probable type of gametes that can be formed because of this arrangement. And now, okay, I'm just erasing these two. Now we'll concentrate only on the these particular one and the different types of gametes which are being produced. So now these will be moving on to our normal mitosis. So in mitosis, what we are going to have is, Okay, in mitosis, so every cell is going to undergo meiosis 2 or the same as that of mitosis. So this will be the metaphase arrangement, every chromosome inside the cell in the form of a straight line. This is also in the form of a straight line here. Okay, and now what you have is they are going to be separated, or the chromatids will be separated like this. The sister chromatids will be separated. They move to the poles like this. Okay, and what you get is the two cells will be the same. I am drawing only one cell here. This also will be the same. This two will be the same, and these two will be the same. Actually, you get 8 different possibilities here. Rather than 4, you get 8 different possibilities. This is one possibility, and the other one is the other possibility. Such 2 possibilities you get in this particular manner. And what you have is this one will be like this. And this one, the other set of chromatid. So consider these as 2. So this is one possibility, one of the 4. This is another possibility of the 4 gametes. Depending upon the arrangement, I clearly noted it will be OR. That means either you can have 4 gametes from the first metaphase arrangement or 4 gametes from the second arrangement. But when you consider a cross, you have to consider both the possibilities. That is what we are going to see now. Okay, so here it will be this will be capital R and capital Y. This will be small r and small y. This will be capital R, small y. This will be small r, small y. So these are the 4 possibilities of gametes which can be formed when you have, or when you consider 2 different traits or 2 different characters. And in a dihybrid or in a heterozygote, you have 2 different metaphase arrangements. And because of the 2 metaphase arrangement, there are 4 types of gamete possibilities. 4 gamete type possibilities are present, as you see here. These 2 are one possible. These 2 are the or the 2 possible probable gametes that can be formed. These are the other probable gametes depending upon the arrangement. And when you consider a cross, you have to consider both the probabilities, because you don't know what happens inside the cell. So when you consider, or when you do a cross, you will be considering the maximum probable gametes or type of gametes that can be formed. As a result, in this particular case, the maximum probable gametes that can be formed is 4 types. 2 with one type of metaphase arrangement, it is these, and the other 2 with the other type of metaphase arrangement. So this is about the cytological explanation, and now we are moving on to the cross. So here, if I zoom in, you can see here, you can see the 4 different types of gametes which are being produced here, and the crosses. You can see the capital R, capital Y. Then the other one will be capital R, small y in the other possibility, and you have the small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. These are the 2 possibilities that we have. I think I made a mistake here. This will be capital small r, capital Y. So just make it clear. I just wrote it as a small r. The one possibility here is small r, capital Y. Here you have the small r, small y here. This will be and this one will be actually it will be small r, capital Y. That is one possibility. Okay, when we wrote the possibility, I think I made it clear. If I had made a mistake, just remember in the second or the second or possibility, what you have is, when you divide in the metaphase arrangement, one will be with capital R, small y, the other will be with small r and capital Y. This is the alternate arrangements what you see. So this one is, I wrote it wrong, that's why I came back and just checked. Here you have small r and capital Y. This is the one. Okay, so that is the different possibilities or different gametes that can be formed, and you can see the four possibilities, that is, you have two parents. This is one, and the other one is here. The four gametes are being written, and you can take the cross, consider it, and put it in the checkerboard. And what you get is, you can see with the color, you have something around 9 round yellow, and you have 3, which is here you can see 3, which is uh, here you can have 3, which is round and green. You can see these 3, which is round and green. You can see the other 3, which is wrinkled yellow. The others are, so that is the other 3:3, and this is 1, which is the one type, which is of the the parent type, which is green wrinkled, the recessive parent type. Okay, so this is the what is called as the dihybrid cross and its cytological explanation. Just go through this, the cytological explanation also, go through this, and we'll discuss the Mendelian laws and principle in the next session. Thank you for hearing.